Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. And today we're chatting with my friend Peter Miner, who is a pastor in Florida. He's a member of our Legends group. And you know what, guys? One of the things I love about these episodes is I have no idea where it's going to go, what we're going to end up talking about. I love just having conversations with my guests and hearing their stories, and then just picking up things that I want to ask that I think somebody might want to know. And so we talked today about his business with how he sells books. So a lot of people, I know if you are a listener of this show for any time, you've probably heard people say that they started with books and they move on to other things. Well, Peter still sells a lot of books in his business. A large part of his business is books. So that was fascinating. So we dug into that and what he's looking for when he's out sourcing books. We talked about Facebook Marketplace and Mercari and some of the other platforms that he also lists on. And so this is just a fun episode because I learned so much about him and his business. And there are so many ways to do this business. And Peter's just an example of somebody that's doing it different than a lot of people and doing it very, very well. He's a pastor full-time. He does this very part-time. And last year he said he had a quote bad year, sold $140,000 in his business, very part-time. So if anything, guys, this should give you some encouragement that you can start small. Books are one of the easiest places to start. Thrift stores are easy places to start. Garage sales, there's consignment, of course, things around your home. But you can start this business with very little money or even no money at all and still have a very profitable business. And if you are like in a position where Peter's at, where he has a full-time job already, you can do this in your part-time. He finds pockets of time that he does the job and gets it done. And so there are no excuses. Anybody can do this. And I hope this episode encourages you. Here it is. Cool. Peter, welcome to Streams of Income. Thank you so much for being on with me.
Thanks, Ryan. It's good to hang out with you for a little bit.
No, I've known you for a while now, but your first time on the podcast, and you're a pastor. Yeah. So I want to hear, we'll get to all the pastor stuff, because it's so, I love knowing that there's pastors that can do this part-time and make a really good income like you're doing. But tell me your business story. How'd you even get into selling on Amazon?
Yeah, well, let me put it into a life calling, because my wife and I have 5 children. So probably within the first couple years of our firstborn, who's now 30, that gives away a lot. She was kind of like, I want to be home. I don't want to work. So I've really always had a niche job on the side so that I could keep my wife could be home, raise the kids. We homeschooled, all that. Yeah. And probably 2014, 15, I was here in Florida. I had an entrepreneurial job I was doing with something completely different than online. I had done eBay way back and got away from it. Never really cared for it all that much. Got away from it. And so I think it was right around Christmas time, 2014, 15. I was kind of like in between. This door closed. I'm still pastoring. What do I do next? I'm seeking the Lord, Yeah. And my wife was shipping some books, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I just sold some homeschool books. We don't need anymore on Amazon." And I was like, "What? I didn't know you could sell anything on Amazon." I was completely blown away. Yeah. And so she said, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Wow." So I looked into it, and then I said, maybe there's something here, Yeah. And then I asked her about FBA, and she said, I don't know anything about FBA. I just sell books when I have them, kind of easy going. So that's how I came into the online world again from eBay probably a decade earlier.
Oh my goodness.
2014, 15.
Yeah.
And so I'll just roll right in Amazon.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I did the FBA thing because it kind of made sense, but I had no mentor. I had nobody to look to. I didn't know anybody that did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, honestly, I was frozen for like 3 months. And then the first month went by, the free $39.99 went out the door. Now I'm paying. I went 2 months paying. Still, I didn't sell anything. I was still trying to figure it out. It was complicated to me trying to go through the university and all that, you know. And then I think I quit. I said, that's it. I'm done. I can't figure this out. And then I kept reading and hearing about people doing FBA and making lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it hounded me. And so I said, I got to figure this out. So I went back to the drawing board and I said, I'm just going to do books because that's what my wife did. So I'm just going to try to see if I can get some books. So I just started hitting the thrift stores. I knew a guy who owned the thrift store, and I said, hey, I need to find some books. He says, Peter, if you can find any books you want on my shelf, believe me, there's too many here. Just take what you want, no charge. You know, so that was a book. Yeah. So
did you know this guy before?
Yeah, I knew him before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so I knew him from the past thing I was doing. I was doing stuff with used clothes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said fine, and so I think it was June of 2015. I sent my first box of books in, probably 30 or 40 books in a box, and within a week and a half, they started selling. I was completely blown away, and then I caught the fever, if you would.
Yes.
You know? I was like, wow, I didn't have to ship it to all these people. I just sent it to the warehouse, and it happened, you know?
Yes.
So that's kind of how I came into it, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people start with books, don't they? Seems like.
I think so. And to be honest with you, I still do books to this day.
That's awesome. I would love to dig into that because most people I talk to, there's a lot of folks that I talk to on this show, and they start with books, but they move on to other things. So the fact that you're still doing books, that's really cool. I'd love to dig into. So tell me, let me write that down because I want to make sure I come back to that.
Sure.
So you were doing books, and then what was the next thing after that? After you sold your first box?
Yeah, well, I just kept looking for more books, and I was on Craigslist. I was hunting books. I mean, I was just trying to figure because it was working, you know?
Yeah.
And eventually I think it was like that fall that I ran into Jim Cockram's stuff online. Okay. And I just kept listening and, you know, reading, but I didn't buy anything from anybody. But I was like, okay, that's a good source. They kind of know what they're talking about. And you were part of that. You still are, you know, part of that whole team of people. And so by, I think it was Thanksgiving of that same year, I sold like an entire commentary set on Thanksgiving Day for gosh, $150. And I said to my wife, I said, I can't believe this. I just, you know, so excited about just one sale, you know?
Yeah.
So when I finished that first year, even though I had quit inside of it, I think I had sold about $1,250 sold, not made, just sold.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it was in January of that next year, 2016, that I was on Jim's mailing list, and I got by this. It wasn't called the Proven Course back then. It was called something else. I can't remember offhand. But it was like for $39 you can buy the whole video series. So I remember saying, you know what, I'm going to do that. So I did it. And there was I don't remember who it was, but there was this one lady who was teaching about how to reach your goal, and it was like I just remember she said, if you want to make so much money, then you got to feed the beasts, and you got to crunch your numbers backwards. So if you want to make 50,000, then you got, you know. So she went through that whole formula, and it just really made sense to me. So at that point, I made a goal that I wanted to try to sell between 25 and 50,000 over the next year. And that was from $1,250 to that.
Wow.
You know? So I still was at books, but I started to dabble with yard sale stuff and a few other things, and I was always doing it part time because you know, ministry's always been the full-time passion. And so when that year ended, I think I did like 26,500
Wow.
in sales. And so then I just set another goal, and then I just kept learning from you guys and you know, from the proven stuff, just kept, but it was always part-time and still is to this day.
Any idea on your so I know most of the time when we talk to folks, like, you know, if they're doing the replens model, doing RA, OA, if they have $100 sale, they're probably bringing in $20 to $25 profit on that. Now books, that's probably a completely different story, isn't it? I mean, your margins are a lot better in books.
Yeah, I remember this one particular book I bought at a thrift. It was a I don't know. Anyways, at a thrift store, and hospice. It was a hospice thrift store, and it was a book that was for sale for 25 cents, and it was listed online for 125. And I could not. It was a paperback book, but it was just rare, you know.
Wow.
So I bought that book among many. I read it because I was curious.
I just booked $125.
And then I sent it in and I sold it for like 125 bucks.
Oh my, is that your biggest margin?
Yeah, that was like a 25-cent book, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And those things happen as you're consistent, but you know, they're not every day.
So in that second year, and you might have easily profited half of that potentially that second year.
Yeah, I think I did, because I was getting great deals. And then I met a guy through Craigslist who was getting books, and he was selling them, and he was getting them from libraries. He was getting them bulk from libraries, and then he gleaned through them. So I started moving into the library world of books instead of thrift store from one source. I would go and fill up my whole car, my Jeep, with boxes and boxes of books. I would scan them, and I would glean out what I needed. Then I would turn around to Goodwill and donate off the rest. And I just kept going in books. You know, it was good. But it was through that contact that I found out about wholesale books. And eventually, within a year, I moved into buying wholesale books, LLC, and myself, and just continue to move ahead. But I did explore with a lot. So the guy who was mentoring me with books had been doing it, and he still is doing it to this day. Probably 50. He was one of the first online sellers with books way back. And he told me, he said, if you never want to hire anybody else, you should be able to do about $400,000 a year in books without needing to hire anybody. I mean, he had it down to a science. So he was really good at it, and I learned a lot from him.
Man, that's awesome. So you did.
Now you got to know that books used to have a different margin of fees with Amazon. It used to be much lower. So I think it was about 3 years ago that they leveled it and said it's the same for everything, including books. So a lot of people got out of books. Yeah. A lot of people couldn't find the profit margin in them like they used to. So, you know, it changed. So a lot of people got out of books, but I stayed in it and adjusted and still doing it. But
that's what you got to do. You got to adjust, don't you?
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, let's just jump into the book section for a second. Just talk about what you're looking for, because there's some people like, you know what, that's because it's just it's one of the easiest, lowest hanging fruit opportunities for somebody, especially if you're coming from a position where you don't have a lot of money to invest, because you can find books so cheap. So, okay, we're walking into a thrift store or a library or a garage sale, and you and I were hanging out. What are we looking for if we're sourcing books?
Okay, you want to look for a few key categories, and you don't want to navigate too far away from those. Okay, so I would say textbooks tend to be very good, especially if you can get them prior to January and prior to August. You can get textbooks. Those are great, and hopefully not too old. You know, and those have got great profit margin, and students are usually looking for them.
Give me an idea of a profit margin you'd expect to see. I know there's going to be some ones that are going to be like your 25 cents to maybe not in textbooks that you're going to have them all over the map, but what's a typical profit margin?
Yeah. I mean, I used to go into thrift stores all the time and I would go look for the textbooks, and sometimes I would sit on the floor with my scanner and just spend a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I trained other family members to help me find them too, but I would say probably you buy a book for $2 at the most, and you typically could sell it between 15 to 40.
Nice.
I mean, not unrealistic.
Yeah.
And so, but I would say textbooks is one category. I would say self-help is a huge one. Those never go bad, so to speak. People are always, and I would say cooking.
Okay.
Cooking is a big subject, believe it or not. I mean, people are buying cookbooks still. I mean, especially the newer ones, higher. I still buy them new and sell them, and they have good margin.
Wow.
So cooking. Self-help, business books are always booming, man. People love business books because they're looking to improve their business. So those are probably some of the main categories I focus in on. I stay away from, all the novels. I'm a pastor, so I do know there are religious books that will sell too, but it's probably not as hot of a subject overall than the ones I just mentioned.
Wow. Okay. And when you scan them, I know with books, it's not something that you might sit on them for a long time. You might send them into Amazon. They may sit for a whole year sometimes, right? It's a lot more long tail than what you would want on any other type of product.
Right. Yeah. That used to be the case, and it still can be, but I try now I don't want my books sitting around more than 8 months.
Okay.
And then if they do, I'm going to break even or even lose a few pennies and just to get my money back and keep rolling.
So are you even looking at Keepa for books, or are you just doing the sales rank?
I probably do the rank and how much competition more than anything else. I do use Keepa. Keepa's a great tool, but I know books so well, it's like I don't even need it anymore, if that makes sense, on books.
Right. That makes sense. Sorry, my son just walking in here. That's my baby's out. I can't help you. Okay. So you're doing the sales rank, and what's your limit? Like, you won't go above what?
You mean as far as
the sales rank? Is there a certain rank that you won't go above?
It depends on the book. Like if there's only 2 or 3 other sellers. But typically I would go over $1 million. Okay. It depends on what I'm selling it for,
Yeah. I mean, that one that's $2 that you bought for 25 cents, you're selling it for 120. $3 million. Who cares, right?
Because exactly. Yeah. And so the nice thing is now, I mean, I do sell in Mexico and Canada.
Oh, okay.
I opened up there, which is kind of nice. I just send it into my regular warehouse, and I just keep track of that price, and those 2 markets have English readers that are looking for books. And
that's awesome. So you're sending it into regular Amazon, and it's just being sold you're not having to send it to another, like a warehouse in Canada or Mexico, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, that's nice. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. So you're looking for textbooks, self-help, cooking, business, definitely not the fiction type books, the novels. Those are going to be pretty much worthless.
They can. I mean, I'll just give Marvel stuff.
Oh yeah.
Tends to do well. There's probably always something in every category, but there's some categories that are just hotter than others.
Yeah. And you're probably at a point now, like you've done it for so long, you just kind of know. I mean, there's probably some things you wouldn't even need to bother scanning. Just throw it in your cart because it's going to sell.
Yeah. I mean, and like Ollie's has got books.
Yes.
And that's kind of a good place to maybe find some good ones along the way. I'm giving away some if those that want to do books, but like Dot to Dot, I never would have imagined Dot to Dot would be so popular. But you can find those at Ollie's in a lot of places. But the Dot to Dot, people will, you can buy those sometimes $1 and $2 a piece and sell them for 12 to 15 a piece.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's good margin.
Have
And
you
I
ever
think
done any ads on Craigslist, like I buy books or anything like that? Posting ads?
I used to do that,
Uh-huh.
but when I moved into new books,
Uh-huh.
I just got away from that.
Sure.
And new books move faster in
Yeah.
general, so I
But if
don't do
somebody
that.
wanted to hustle, like they were just like Peter, I need to do this business. I need to make this work, and
Yeah,
I've got $50 to spare, and so they do that at the thrift store. But then they run out of money because their books are they sent their books in, and now they're just waiting for it to sell. That could be some time. You can
right.
get books for free.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you know what your margin is too.
Yeah.
Like, I used to ship in a book that I would say, okay, I'm going to make $3. I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take me much time.
Sure.
Basically, books aren't breakable.
Right.
I mean, unless somebody just doesn't like the book
Yeah.
or that whatever the reason is, return it. But for the
Yeah.
most part, you don't have as many returns.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it works.
Yeah, it does. Are you
So
putting the sticker on the back over the barcode, and then that's it,
yeah,
and sending it in?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends on the book. Sometimes I'll shrink wrap it to make it
Okay.
look better.
Yeah.
If it's a real heavy book, to preserve
Sure.
it from getting damaged a little
Yeah.
bit. But books to me are a gold mine. Even though people are digital, they're getting digital books and stuff. I still think that people like to hold books, and I think there'll always be that crowd.
I definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to mark them up.
So I would say used books. I would say if somebody's really trying to, I'm just telling you, Brian, I hustled, man. My wife will attest to it. I was sometimes up till 2 a.m. just cranking out stuff, get it done, because I had all next day. I had to go do ministry and work. So, I mean, my first year was not as hustle as my second and third year. I probably put 20, 25 hours in after dinner, late night. I would hustle. Now I don't need to hustle as much, and I got momentum.
That's awesome.
And it's been good.
That's awesome. Tell me about, what did you branch out to when you started branching out to other things besides just books? What was that first thing?
Yeah, just bizarre things that would be at yard sales and stuff. And, like ink cartridges left over from something. And, I did go to auctions for a lot. I made a lot of money from auctions. I had an auction not too far from my house before COVID.
Okay.
And I would go every Wednesday night I could, and I would not try to be in the early group. I'd be in the late group because people come in at 6 o'clock at night, and by 8:30, they bought what they wanted and they were gone. And I would sometimes stay until they finished at 10, 11.
Yeah.
And as the crowd thinned, the merchandise lowered, and I would just, my daughter, people from my church, we'd just go and have fun. It was just entertaining. And then I would just get all kinds of junk. I call it junk. And then I would go through it and scan it as used or new, and I would sell it on Amazon, and I make great return on my money. And I still do that today because it's fun.
Yeah,
I still do that.
Now, is this like an estate sale or it's an online auction?
Well, I do online, and because most of them aren't back to in person.
Okay.
But there's more competitors now, so I'm pretty picky.
Yeah.
But I still do, like, the Corningware that from the 50s and 60s. That stuff still sells like crazy.
Oh, and that's on Amazon even?
Well, I don't know about Amazon because I've branched out.
Selling on eBay?
No, I still don't go back to eBay.
Wow.
Yeah, I should probably, but I don't. So would you like to hear how I branched and why I branched?
Go for it. Yeah.
So it was during the pandemic of 2020 that my Amazon account got suspended. And I had heard these stories. I thought it wouldn't happen to me, and it did. And it rocked my world. And anyway, I got my account back, but it took me 3 months.
Okay.
And when everybody else was just rocking it out during COVID, I was hurting, I was just really hurting.
Right.
So that was when I realized I can't put all my eggs in one basket.
Right.
And I started to, I took a course online about Walmart, how to start up in Walmart.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, I got into Walmart.
Okay.
And I think by June, I got my Amazon account back, and I had a Walmart account.
Okay.
And then I branched into Facebook Marketplace last year.
Okay.
And so right now I'm doing Amazon, Walmart, Facebook Marketplace, Macari,
Yeah.
and a little bit of Etsy. Etsy's a little challenging for me, but I've sold a little bit on Etsy.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of where some of the auction stuff is doing well.
Okay.
That's kind of old and interesting.
Yeah.
And so probably in that order are my sales as well.
Okay.
In that order.
Amazon, and then
Walmart
and Facebook Marketplace are the top three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace has really done well for me this past year.
Give me an example, like what's that product? Because I don't think I don't know how many, maybe just a couple of times have I talked about Facebook Marketplace with somebody that's doing that.
Yeah.
So what's your strategy there?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I haven't opened a store, so it's very personal. It's just but I don't sell in my community. I don't like bombard my friend list. So I kind of say, don't show my friends. So it just goes into the marketplace without turning everybody that knows me off, listing everything,
Right.
So I basically, I'll give you some examples of other things I've done with RAs. I've followed the season. So after Christmas, I go get all the clearance stuff out. After, school supplies, after Halloween, I've probably bought costumes for the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And I used to just hold on to them until it came close to that holiday again. And then I learned from you guys, man, things sell all year long. So, so I list it as soon as I get it, and it doesn't always move, but you never know. But then when that season comes back around, it hits pretty good.
So those listings stay up there forever?
Well, you have to renew it with Facebook.
Okay.
It's like if it don't sell within, I'm not even sure what it is. It's maybe 3 weeks or something.
Okay.
Then you have to renew the listing and pop it back up.
Okay.
But I did. All right. So here's my strategy. All right.
Yeah.
So I go to Amazon first. If I'm restricted or I can't get into a category, even though it was a good deal, then I go over to Walmart and I list it. Okay. And then if for some reason it doesn't move there, I may double list it on Facebook Marketplace. I sometimes list it on Macari. Depends. Macari's quick. I can do it fast with my phone.
Yeah.
Facebook is quick. I can do it fast with my phone.
Yes.
And so the things that are restricted, I do on Facebook and Macari. And
that's awesome. Is it all, I mean, pretty much any type of item that you're selling on Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, I typically try to stay lightweight.
Okay.
I try to stay small, unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I think through Walmart, I never would have dreamed that I would have sold clothing. Never thought that I would do it,
Yeah.
So I'll go into Walmart and they just have random ways of clearing stuff out. So I live in Florida, so I don't remember what season it was, but I remember they had Jordache kids jeans. And they had an entire rack when I happened to walk in. There was 40 pairs of them, and they were $1 a piece. I just cleared it out. I didn't even need to look at the Keepa chart. I was kind of I scanned one of them and said, oh, it's selling, period. $1 a piece, can't go wrong, $40. And I sold every single one of those between Walmart and Amazon. I sold them all for $15 to $20 a piece.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I love clearance stuff. It's still fun, even though you can't replenish it necessarily. Right. It's got good profit.
Oh my goodness. On the Facebook Marketplace stuff, are you just doing porch pickup?
No, I do shipping only.
Oh, you ship to them. Oh, wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So when you post something, does that mean anybody around the country can see it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Matter of fact, last night, I sold something that I couldn't find on Facebook. And I told the lady, I'm sorry, I must have sold it. I forgot to take it down. I'm sorry. She said, no problem. So while I was downstairs, I said, man, I should list a few more things. So I had this old Frankenstein freaky mutant toy thing I got from an auction 2 or 3 years ago. I think I actually shipped it into Amazon. It never sold.
Yeah.
I got tired of the fees. I said, this thing is never going to sell here. So I had it shipped back to me.
Yeah.
Sat in the shelf.
Yeah.
Last night I listed it and I sold it today for $35.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. How does Facebook Marketplace work real quick? Like I've never dove into this at all ever. So like when you list it on there, are you making it free shipping, just adding to it, or does the customer, is it 35 plus shipping, whatever it costs to that zip code?
I do a little of both. I mean, depends on what I got in it. I might do free shipping. Sometimes I don't. But Facebook wants you to do free shipping.
Okay.
You know, they want to incentivize
But
you.
if you don't do that, then, and I put in my zip, I'm in Texas, so I pipe in my zip code 76092. Does it calculate it automatically? And then
what it does is you give it the weight.
Okay.
And then you pick your shipping if it's through them, or you could do it yourself. So
got it.
So like, for instance, I think if I know what the weight is, it doesn't even ask you the dimension of the box. It just wants to know the weight. It gives you price choices between UPS and Postal Service. So I kind of play around with it at times. Like sometimes people will say, hey, would you take $10 less on some, you know, even though it's already there, maybe free shipping. And I'll say, well, it depends on where you live. I'll just, depends on where you live.
Yeah.
And it depends on if you're willing to pay shipping, you know. Yep. So I kind of that's the personalization that you don't get in Walmart.
Yeah.
And Amazon. You know, people can kind of dicker with you a little bit and stuff.
That's awesome. And you
but
get paid
this past year I did almost $4,000 on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
With just things that weren't moving in other directions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Is that did you get paid right through Facebook?
Yeah, they pay you through PayPal.
Okay.
That's their portal, and they only take 5%, so it's the cheapest.
That's awesome.
Take. Yeah.
Wow. You 5% plus the PayPal fees, or 5% in
5%. They ship it to
total.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I don't know how long that'll stay like that, but it's pretty reasonable.
Okay. If you were and this sounds like we could talk offline about this, but that there could be a class here on that whole topic, because it sounds like it doesn't take a lot of extra work for you to have some of those items listed that you aren't selling on Amazon anyway, that and just like would be an easy extra income stream for somebody. Yeah.
My mom, like, your dad passed away this past year.
Yeah.
My mom passed away 2 years ago, and she left me all these old collector plates, among many things, the kind of used to hang on your wall from the 60s and forward or whatever, or even back. And I remember my wife saying, I said, what do I do with all these plates, And she said, just Goodwill, man. Nobody buys those things anymore, Peter. I said, well, I'm going to just give it a shot. So I started listing on Facebook Marketplace, and I sold an entire collection to one lady out in Oregon who was into cats, and all these plates were cats.
Yeah.
So she bought a whole collection, and you just never know what people are going to buy. So, I still have my mom's plates. I still have probably another 60 of those crazy plates.
Wow.
And every once in a while, I'll just list them. Because I figured, why throw it away if somebody's going to buy it, and it makes me feel better about my mom's old stuff.
Exactly. So is Facebook Marketplace, is it, so that person that was in Oregon, they had to type in cat plate or something, you had to, whatever you titled it as was how she found it, essentially, because she's not scrolling through Florida Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, no, I think, they have, like, you can put tags in your listing.
Okay.
So I think people just search for things, and and I think you can also put your settings so that if somebody's trying to sell this, I want to know about it, notification.
Oh, wow.
So I think there's a little bit of both of those in there.
There's some similarities to eBay there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, that's what's fun about these episodes. I have no idea where we're going. I had no clue before we started we were going to be talking about Facebook.
Yeah, I didn't know I'd be talking about Facebook either,
Yeah. But it just sounds like an easy way. And Mercari, there's a lot of folks in our audience that do sell on Mercari, but it's not something we talk about much. So is that pretty easy too?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, but I did pretty good with that a couple of years ago. But then when Marketplace showed up with what they were doing, there's just way more people on Facebook. So I just have more visibility there.
Yeah.
So I still have the listings on Mercari, and I don't take them down, but I've double listed them on Facebook. And so if somebody buys it from one or the other, I just search back on the other and say, oh yeah, I had that there, and I try to delete it so I don't,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting, and I think, and then I tried Poshmark for a little while, didn't really care for it. So I just didn't do it. But like my daughter's really good they're really good at Poshmark. So you got to kind of find your online channels that kind of are easy for you and you like them. They adapt to your lifestyle versus trying to force something, I guess.
Right. You said Amazon's still your biggest source of income. You're doing books there. What is that? Is books the main thing, or is that just now as retail arbitrage overtaking the books as far as your main source?
I'm hoping that I'd like to get that at 50-50 this year.
Okay.
I'd like to. Yeah, I'm really working replens. But one thing about replens that is difficult for me is you can get it on a good deal, and when you need to replenish it, it may not be on that good a deal.
Yeah.
Whereas books, I can consistently usually go back and get more of what I need at the same price.
Yeah.
But there's too many good deals in replens to not give it a shot, though.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You're doing a lot of clearance shopping then too?
You know what? Clearance is fun for me. It's not, I went in. All right. So this is tie-in ministry, and I had.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to get definitely into the ministry stuff too.
Yeah. I had this Sunday afternoon. This was yesterday. I had this couple that I hadn't seen in a month and a half that I needed to just follow up on. They've had a lot of physical challenges. They live 45 minutes away. So, it was a long day already, had a big lunch. I was really sleepy as I got into the town where they were at. Yeah. And I thought, man, I just need to wake myself up. And so I said, I'm just going to go to Walmart for a few minutes, see what they got on clearance.
Okay.
So I went into Walmart. I know where to find the clearance aisles. I know what to look for. And believe it or not, I haven't listed them yet, but they had light bulbs on clearance that were like $17 online. Wow. They're on clearance for $4. So I walked out. I spent $300 on light bulbs yesterday. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I've really learned to pick things up in the course of my life instead of necessarily going to them intentionally if I can, so that I'm not really taking extra time. Yeah. So some of my favorite stores to get stuff are Trader Joe's, Walmart. I do a lot of, I try once a week to go through replen lists from VAs and just find the things that fit into my portfolio that I can just order and have shipped to me. And then it comes, and then I take some time, and out the door it goes again, So I probably could have outsourced and grown it into a bigger business with more people and employees, but I just never want to. I mean, I just want to keep it me and my family, extra money, while I do ministry. And if I were to ever not be in the ministry, I could probably pour a whole lot more into it.
Man, and you said last year was your worst year, and you still sold 140 some thousand is what you told me before we hit record.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It was, the year before, and total sales, all sites, I think was 250.
That's awesome.
And my highest year ever, I think, was 270. Yeah. Wow. And I think I have hired people to help me, in little pockets of time, not consistently every week, But I would say overall, my tax guy told me that I actually made more money last year than the year before, even though I sold more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm getting better at.
Is that because you found the right stuff, or some stuff sold that you bought the year before that was sitting
Yeah,
around?
I think it was a little bit of both. I had leftover stuff that, and I didn't spend as much.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm not going to ask you what you make, but do you make as much in your Amazon e-commerce business, almost or close to what you make as a pastor?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Is it
Yeah,
anywhere close? Like, what you make as a pastor, is it at 50% yet, or is it?
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's at 50. I mean, there was a couple years I made more than a pastor, but
Wow.
on a rhythm, I'm not yet.
Yeah.
But I will say that, I got my son through college.
Wow.
I think I honestly could have been stronger financially if I could have just kept flipping my money instead of pulling it out, paying my kids through college.
Sure.
Which, but that's why I did it. I mean, so this is the year I'm hoping that I, don't have to spend as much and I can make it grow a little bit more.
Oh my goodness. And about how many hours do you think you work a week on your e-commerce business?
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, probably 15 hours a week, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, but it's hard for me to gauge that. Like, yesterday I was doing ministry, but I probably spent an hour in the store having fun, looking for stuff. And then I was awake. I got it through in the vehicle. And then today I emptied it. It took me 5 minutes to empty it. And then, when I process everything back out the door, probably another hour. So, it just fits into life instead of being extra.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have a certain schedule, or as far as you do this on this day, or is it more just like whenever you have pockets of time, you'll go source? Do you have a certain, like, this is my day to source, this is my day to ship, or is yours more fluid because of you have no idea what ministry thing is going to pop up that day?
Exactly. And that's, it's more fluid. Sometimes I can spend a few days in a week. Sometimes I can't get to a whole lot, like physically processing it out the door for several weeks, but I can still keep track of the prices on my phone and adjusting things. So,
man, that's so cool.
So, I mean, there's a part of me that says I wish I had better rhythm, but that's really part of why I like working for myself, doing online sales, is because you never know the demands of ministry. And what can happen. And it's kind of nice that you can just fit it in when you can.
Absolutely.
And there's been times when I would just like go out late at night, because Walmart used to be open 24 hours. Maybe they are again. I'm not sure, but you can just go out. And I forgot to tell you that I think my next biggest category after books was probably toys.
Okay. You're selling a lot of toys right now?
I have some. I'm beginning to wonder about, Amazon's been really restrictive. They got more restrictive on toys, but for a while that was another filler for books. Okay. So I did toys, follow the seasons, and books. And I still love the auctions, and so I just don't get my stuff from any one place. But I'm hoping I can try to do the VA thing with replens for a whole year, just to see how that works.
That's awesome. What advice would you give somebody who's just starting out? Because we've mentioned books, you've mentioned toys, you've mentioned Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, Amazon, Etsy, and you're all over the place. You got your hands in so many different streams, and it's all bringing you income. And what would you suggest if another pastor friend came to you and said, "I've seen what you were doing, Peter, and I want to start an e-commerce business"?
I would say definitely just start with one thing, and like I would suggest like either Mercari or Amazon or Facebook, something, so you could just sell something to see if you even like it. Because I've some people are like, I just don't even like selling things. I don't want to do it, And until you actually buy something, sell something, ship something, get paid, and get a sense of if that's fulfilling and you're going to enjoy doing it, then don't spend all that money on courses and learning all that. Just initially get something rolling and going. And I'm kind of glad that I got suspended once so that I could diversify, because I was leaning on Amazon as my only thing, and now with diversity, it's really helping me. You know, I never thought that would be the case, but it really is. You know.
Yeah.
So
Incredible.
I hope that helps.
No, it's very helpful. What advice would you give to just other newbies, just that are struggling? Like, you're a pastor, so encourage the folks that are listening here that are, you know, like you were, before we hit record, talking about how just people are struggling today, and there's all kinds of needs out there. The people who are the guy that is stuck in their job that they hate, or maybe they just got laid off because of what's going on in the world or whatever. Just give some encouragement to that person.
Yeah, I would say definitely find a mentor or somebody who's doing what you want to do, and pick their brain. And if they'll even invest in you on a regular basis with some commitment level, that would really make the difference. I think people are just so alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people are leery, because I read a lot of the comments online from Legends and other places that, you know, people are struggling to try to make it work.
Yeah.
And they're seeing all these success stories. Like for me, I've seen people that started since I started that made 5 to 10 times more than I could ever imagine. And, you know, and I could easily go, what's wrong with me? You know, I'm not making that much, but I also realize I'm choosing a certain way to do it.
Yeah.
And so so people out there, they need to find a niche, you know. And I would say, you know, there's also the electronic niche that, that is different, you know, like selling digital products. I've dabbled with that a little bit, and I really like it, but it is a whole different shift from the physical product.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out. So I keep working on that in the background, like merch on Amazon, digital stuff, making your own books. I've done a little bit of it, but I really haven't made any money to speak of. But I'd like to get to the place where I could learn to do that as I get older, and I don't want to physically have to handle stuff if I could do stuff digitally. So some people out there, you know, you can make a lot of your own products and never pay anything.
It's true.
You know, if you got the creative side to you that, you know how to do things.
That's good. Also, last question. You seem like you have a lot of things going on in your business and, you know, personal life. But yeah, you know, you've heard shiny object syndrome. It doesn't sound like that is a big deal for you, at least because you sound like you're managing it really well. You got Amazon, your Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, and Walmart, and it's all going pretty well. It's not like you don't seem scattered. You seem like you got them all working together pretty well.
My wife would dicker the difference.
Say something different. Okay.
Yeah, she says, "How do you keep track of all this stuff?"
Well, it seems like you are, and a lot of, because you know you've been around e-commerce for a while now, so you know the challenges. Like, ooh, new course coming out. Let's try that. Let's buy this. Let's do this strategy. How have you been able to stay focused? Because if you get too unfocused, obviously you will get too scattered and nothing works because you're jumping around.
Yeah, you kind of, I don't know, like I've taken a lot of courses over the last 6-7 years, and I've learned a lot. Some of them I wish I hadn't taken, and some of them I'm glad I did.
Right.
And I met a lot of great people along the way. You know, if somebody's out there and they're just trying to make it, you can do it with little to nothing, but it's really nice to have somebody you can talk to.
Yes.
I mean, you got to just have somebody you can get advice from, and then they can encourage you. If you don't have that, it's so easy to just say, "Oh well, I quit." You know?
Yes.
This isn't for me. So
I agree. Community is so key.
Yeah. I have a pastor friend of mine who I never thought he'd do it, but I had I've helped a few pastors, and one pastor, he got going and he was really doing good, and then he just dropped off. You know, he just said, I just don't have the time. So he wasn't as driven, I think, as probably I was, you know. And then I have another pastor friend I'm helping now, and we talk probably once every few weeks, and he'll pick my brain every once in a while.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell him where he should get something. So we share kind of ideas where to get things.
Awesome.
And so, you know, we need each other out here.
Yes.
You know, I think that's what you do with Legends is so good is that people will plug in.
Yes.
It's helpful.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. The people that I see that are most successful have some kind of a community or a coach around them that help them. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Peter, thank you so much. This has been fun. I had no idea we'd talk about textbooks or Facebook Marketplace or Mercari, but I think we'll talk more. I think there could be a potential Facebook Marketplace course or a class in Legends for sure, if you want to think about that, because there's a lot of people that would love to learn how to add that as an extra stream of income. And it sounds like it's not a lot of work for you to add that on. So
no, it's kind of fun, but I will admit that, FBA, when I first got into this, I was like, I don't want to ship every day. And I really avoided shipping personally, other than I would have UPS come to my house and pick up a bunch of boxes, and that was it. Okay.
Yeah.
And since the pandemic, I learned to go back to having shipping as a part of my daily schedule, so to speak.
That's good.
So that's the only drawback that I'm not as crazy about. But there's money there, and the economy and inflation are happening.
Yes.
So I'm learning to just deal with it, because I need to make some more money just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And the price of fuel,
right,
and different things like that. I mean, so if I can make $2 extra, so I'm buying boxes, having them shipped to my house, and I'm learning the shortcuts even. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Love it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you. It's been fun. Let me know when you want to come back on. We'll chat again. Appreciate it.
My friend.
All right,
thanks.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.